If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today I wanted to give a special thanks and shout out to the Business Doctor Inc., helping businesses thrive. So I actually was a small business owner for many years, and when I first started out, I learned of this incredible tool, business credit. I did not have to use my personal credit to fund my business, and you will be surprised at all the benefits that this program has to offer. So as business owners, why do we form an LLC or a corporation? Well, it's pretty simple, right? To protect ourselves personally from the liability of the company. The very next thing we should be doing as business owners is protecting ourselves personally from the finances of the company. The Business Doctor is funded by Dr. Glenn Smith, PhD in Business Management, Accounting, and Finance. Schedule your free business evaluation and consultation at thebusinessdoctor.us. Enroll in the Rapid Business Credit Builder program and get up to 100,000 business credit under company's EIN and DUNS number in less than 6 months, never having to use personal credit. That's thebusinessdoctor.us, or call them directly at 1-866-383-1030. That's 1-866-383-1030. And let them know that you heard about them on the Sheila Mack Show.
Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mack's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.SheilaMack.
Hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have special guest Charles Reed. Charles is a certified public accountant, U.S. Tax Court practitioner, and member of the Internal Revenue Service Advisory Council, and is also the founder of GetPayroll. Mr. Reed's companies have provided full-service payroll services, payroll tax services, and other payroll-related services since 1991. Charles is an accomplished senior executive and entrepreneur with more than 50 years of financial leadership experience in a broad range of industries and author of 4 books. His latest book, The Payroll Book, A Guide for Small Businesses and Startups, is currently number 25 in Small Business Books section on Amazon. All right, welcome to the show, Charles.
Sheila, my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
And this show actually came about with my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. I wrote it right before the pandemic. I didn't have a crystal ball, but I couldn't even fathom the crazy situations we've experienced over the last 15, 16 months or so. And so I'd like to start off with, do you have a time in your business or personal life that you could share with the audience where you experienced a difficult situation and how you got back on track?
Sure. In 1991, my wife and I had started the business. In 1992, my daughter came down with ovarian cancer and lived with us for 6 months, undergoing chemotherapy, and passed away. We'd started the business a year and a half earlier, and it was a terrible time for us. My clients, it was just Ruth and I at the time. We didn't have any staff. My clients were just incredibly understanding. I'll be honest, my work, and I did accounting for them and payroll and mostly accounting at that point in time. And when I finally got my head straight 4 months later, I was embarrassed at the quality of my work, and I apologized to all my clients. And all but one of them were just, no big deal. We understand. Just, make it right. We won't worry about it. And some of those people are still clients today, 30 years later. Right. So then here 6 years ago, I lost my wife. And this time I had a staff. And basically, they kept the company going. Ruth was in ICU for 3 weeks, on a ventilator for 2, and was in the hospital and nursing homes for a number of months after that, after a major stroke. And my staff, who I cultivated and hired and trained, just basically took care of everything. I'd come in the morning for half an hour, go to the hospital, spend the day at the hospital, come back, go back to the hospital. It was just, my Ruth was far more important than anything else at the time. So my staff just saved my business, pure and simple. So it's people can be good to you. You've got to, if you're good to them, they'll be good to you. And so my clients in the beginning and my staff a few years later saved my business both times. It wasn't, I couldn't have done it. I had to have help. No man's an island.
Wow, definitely. And I'm so sorry for your losses there. That's something we don't think about or plan for. I mean, sometimes we do plan for certain things, but never for somebody to go sooner than we plan, especially a child. And then we have to put things on hold. And there is something that you go through. I lost my youngest son in December 2019, 22 years old, heart condition, and just fell asleep at grandma's and didn't wake up. And it was really hard. And I literally, the book was going to come out in January. I waited until August, and I spent a lot of time off. I was really blessed with passive income and an ability to do that. And yes. I thought about all the people that are employed, where I think the national amount of days that they give people is 5 or 6 days for bereavement. And there's just no way. We didn't even have the funeral for like 3 weeks because of the holidays. There's just no way. Yeah. So it is.
I was interviewed for a magazine, an HR magazine, about that, because our bereavement policy is very simple. And it's due to my experiences. You take whatever time you need.
Exactly. Yep.
If it's 3 days, that's fine. If it's 3 weeks, that's fine. If it's 6 weeks, that's fine. If you need that time as an employee, as a valued employee of our business, you take it, because there's more important things than the business. And you've got to take care of yourself and your family and do what needs to be done. And to be worried about the job just adds stress. So just, and will I get taken advantage of at some point in time? Probably. So what? Life's too short. People take care of me. They help me. And if I can help them, if somebody takes advantage of me, so be it. It's, it's on their shoulders, not on mine.
Exactly. And I know years ago I had gift stores, and I started when I was very young, 23, and I learned how important having a CPA was really quickly. I didn't know how to do everything. And that first year, I actually kind of was rounding for the state board of equalization, which is your sales tax in a gift store. And one day, all these men in suits walked in, and I thought, oh my gosh, they're coming to take me away. And it was actually President Clinton had visited the area. He spoke at Glendale College. This was in California. And then he ate dinner nearby, and he came over just to look at the different stores. And that was the Secret Service. And the next day I hired a CPA. And it was really, I was like, okay, because, young minds, I was so young, 23, 24 by this point. And so I thought, okay. And the CPA said, honey, you just don't round. You have to put every penny. And I was like, oh, well, it was just me. And that's the thing. You learn as you go. And it was just time. So that was my wake up call to needing a CPA. And I'm sure that working with a CPA over the years with all the businesses and things I've done has saved me time, stress, money, mistakes that I would have made. I always check with the CPA before buying and selling property or doing anything so that they can make sure that I'm in the right time to do it or whatever that is. They know more than I do. So yes, I'd love, go ahead.
And you use them for that. Don't use them to make business decisions, but use them for their expertise and advice. But when it comes down to making a business decision in your business,
Right.
your CPA is not the person to make that decision. You need to take that risk. You need to define what you're going to do and where you're going to go and how you're going to do it. Take their advice and use it, but don't let your attorney, your CPA, or your insurance agent determine your business decisions, because you're the business person. They're just a trusted advisor. Trust them, use them, but don't let them make decisions for you.
Oh, yes. So true. And
some of them will.
Family and friends also. And it's one of those things. I remember my house burned down and I lost my car, my house, everything all at once. And my friend said, oh, honey, we got you a job. You can work at the grocery store, which isn't a bad thing. But I was like, oh, no, I always have businesses. And I bought a beautiful rental home and made it into the vacation rentals. And I was making more money than they were making in a year every 2 months. And they said, okay, you might be a little different, but you know how to make money. Tell me what you did. And so that's something, once you know how to do something, even if you fail in business or have something that didn't work out, you always know how to get back on your feet.
Absolutely.
And I'd love to hear, Charles, how you got into being a CPA. Were you a little kid that loved numbers, or how did this happen?
Well, I'm a Midwestern boy. I grew up in Iowa. After high school, which I hated, I went in the military. I spent 4 years in the United States Marine Corps, 2 years overseas, including a stint in Vietnam. I was stationed in Kansas City when I came back and met my wife, Ruth. She was 10 years older than I was and had 5 kids, and I married her. I claim insanity, but we were married for 45 years before she passed. I found that business did not value my military experience. And I've learned that basically if the business person hasn't been in the military, they have no idea what you can do and what you've learned and what your skill set is. They don't understand. So, and to this day, most of them don't understand. So I went to college, got my degrees, was motivated to go back to school, and got my bachelor's and my master's in 3 years. Sat for and passed my CPA exam while I was still in graduate school because accounting was fun. Went to work for Texas Instruments, and then for 15 years worked for various large and small firms. Realized I was never going to run a major corporation. I don't have the political skills. I'm unwilling to stab people in the back and toss them off the ladder. So if I was going to run a business, and I grew up in a family business, I'd have to start my own. So Ruth and I started our own business in 1991 and worked together. My parents worked together. I thought it was natural. Working with your spouse is not a natural thing. Okay. So I learned the hard way that one. But so we started the business in 91 and kept going. I sold off the accounting portion a few years ago and have concentrated on payroll, but I've been doing CPA work for well over 40 years now.
Wow, that is incredible. That is beautiful. And, for those listening in, if you're hiring people, veterans are incredibly skilled. They go through so much training. I have always hired veterans and make it my priority and just give them so much respect and thanks for serving. So it does make a difference. They know more about people skills and how to get things organized and done than most average graduates, for sure. So definitely important.
The skills you learn in the military, the Marine Corps, it's mission, men, self. You take your ego out, that comes last. And I've seen ego destroy more businesses and create more problems because, oh, I run a business, I'm great and wonderful, I'm Mr. Perfect. Yeah, well, bull. You know, you're the accomplish the mission. Your men, your staff, your people are how you do it, and then you come last. And that kind of attitude gets things done, along with the discipline you learn in the military. And you learn discipline, I promise.
Yes. I have all these relatives. They all were in the military on my mother's side of the family. And so, yes, it's such a difference and really helpful. Now, for payroll, I remember I actually hired a lot of people because I ended up buying 4 buildings. So I had 5 gift stores. The first one I rented, and I had close to 200 people working for me at one time. And a lot of them, I had incredible moms that worked at great department stores that paid triple or quadruple. And I was like, I can't pay that, but I can provide the nanny and the child care because we had these big buildings, and I can provide flex time. And if you don't want to be here, don't show up because it'll hurt sales. So I had this great staff, and I needed help with payroll. And I also worked with the government and created an open source learning program for all the young kids that were at-risk youth. They were getting out of foster care and nobody will hire them. And so I created a training program, 6 months, and then they graduate from me and they go to big department stores that can pay them the quadruple. And some of them started their own businesses. Now, this was so long ago. Gosh, 1993, I think it was when I opened the store. Oh, now we know our age. No, erase that. Anyway, so that's something that you learn as you go, and payroll took so much time. It was like a whole another full-time job. So when is a good time for people to start using a payroll service? What advice do you give for new companies?
Well, basically, the moment you hire somebody or you form a corporation and you're an employee, I recommend a payroll service. It's inexpensive and it solves all those problems. Plus, the reason I wrote the book is it's 30 years of experience distilled down to 95,000 words about payroll. All those questions I get asked by people, new clients and potential clients and so on, all the problems that they don't know because they don't know what they don't know. They don't know their employees. They don't know, well, I'm just hiring them as independent contractors. No, you can't do that. Okay. And all the things that go with it and how to avoid penalties and how to abate them if one happens, because the IRS makes millions of mistakes and assesses billions, literally $13 billion in fiscal 19 of employment tax penalties, $13 billion, of which half got abated by people like me. So there's all these things, how you pay people, what's a PEO, handbooks, S-cheat, taxes, deductions, garnishments, all these things. And that's why the book's there. Because the analogy I use, when I grew up, and I'm a little older than you are, Pele was the premier soccer player in the world. I don't know who it is today, Messi or somebody. But Pele was a great athlete, as small businesses are great business people. But you put Pele in a New York Yankees uniform at second base, and he's lost. He doesn't know the game, the rules, the equipment, the plays, anything. Still a great athlete. So if you take a businessman who's good at his job, he's great at running a dog grooming, a gift store, manufacturing, auto repair, tailor, you name it, whatever. And you say, okay, now do payroll. Here's a whole nother profession. Learn it. He's going to go, I don't have time. I don't have the interest. I got to get it done. I got to pay my people. And he's going to make mistakes because he doesn't know the territory. He doesn't know the laws. He doesn't know how to deal with the IRS or the state. He doesn't know what he doesn't know. So outsource. I mean, I don't mow my own lawn. I don't make my own clothes. I don't work on my own car. I outsource all that. Payroll is one of those things that business people should outsource, along with accounting and a few other things, tax services, because the IRS is a little rapacious on those things. They like to get paid. So it's a perfect thing to outsource because it's not worth your trouble to learn it. If you want to get a good grounding on it, my book's available at Amazon and Barnes and Noble, or the payrollbook.com is the website for it.
Wow, that's so helpful. Yeah, I didn't know anything about all that. And it took me so many hours. And as soon as I figured out to get this payroll service, it made all the difference. And I was able to pay. It was a S Corp. So I paid myself. I paid everybody that worked for me that's in the family, and then all the other employees. And then those that went through the training program, they were actually paid as high as my highest earning employees. It was a great program to help young people get started. So, and they included workers' comp. There's all these things you have to think about when you run a business. Workers' comp was so expensive. It was like having 2 more employees for every one. I mean, it's just crazy.
And the dirty little secret of workers' comp, and I detail in my book, is the insurance agent that sells you the workers' comp gets paid on the premium. His commission's based on your premium. So he's interested in getting you on. He's not interested in making it as cheap as possible. So you got to be careful. You got to know what you're doing, or they're going to take advantage of you.
Yeah. And see, I was so young, I didn't even know that I had a choice. I don't know how I found it or who helped me get it all started, but with the workers' comp, it was required, and so I got it, and I went with the first person I found. I didn't know there was options, and that's probably why I paid so much. Yes, I sent them on a cruise every year for sure. So,
you put his youngest through college, yeah.
Yes, I definitely did. And so that's the thing. It is so important to have help with things like that, to get the book, to get a good CPA, a payroll service to help you as soon as possible. It's going to save you money. And as an employer, also to talk to your CPA to see, do you want to do S Corp, LLC? How do you want to structure your business? Because that can make a big difference in your taxes and your protection.
It does. And the liability protection, of course, is so important. Again, not to tout it, but that's one of the chapters in my book. It's actually the first chapter is entity selection, because it is critically important to a small business or a startup that they select the right entity to get all the tax advantages and to reduce the potential liabilities. It's extraordinarily important. Chapter 1.
There's this other benefit that I found out. I mean, this 23-year-old kid opening gift stores, right? And I was able to get, by the end of that first year, I was getting net 120. So that means you don't have to pay the vendors for 120 days. So you're able to sell everything, get your money back, reinvest, and then pay them. And then the credit, business credit, is so much better. Like your personal credit, if you're starting a business, don't use your personal credit. Don't take the equity out on your home to start the business, because if something goes wrong, you lose your home.
Yep.
And that happened to neighbors that had stores and businesses. And so luckily I had listened to somebody told me do this S Corp for safety, for protection. And then I got this great credit where I was able to even buy the company van to, haul the merchandise back and forth. Anything that was damaged, I sold at the swap meet, this and that. And so I needed the van, and 0 interest. I mean, the credit, by the time I was 25, I could just go anywhere with my credit card, and I paid it off because the store made money.
Right.
And I ended up buying the other 4 buildings and stopping the lease. I didn't like the lease. After the lease ended, I didn't renew. So buying was better for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And things are different now. It's hard when you start a business. Do you buy? Do you not buy? What advice do you have for somebody just starting out?
Well, again, get with a CPA, analyze the situation, do up a business plan, plan all the things that are going on, talk to the experts, talk to your lawyer, your CPA, your insurance agent, make sure all your bases are covered, because the complexity, it just gets worse every year. The laws just expand. The payroll laws have just bloomed incredibly this last 18 months. It's been a disaster for everybody. So it's harder just to go out and go into business. It's a lot harder than it was 40 years ago, 30 years ago.
Oh,
Believe
yeah.
me, I've been in both places, as you have too. So you've got to be methodical. You've got to plan. You've got to put in the time and the effort to create that business plan and make it formal. Don't just do it on the back of an envelope. Write it out. Cash flow, as you know, cash flow is critical. I tell people who are starting a new business, calculate every possible expense you might have, every contingency you might have. And when you get that number, double it.
Yeah.
You might have enough money.
Right. Definitely.
Because you won't think of everything, no matter what you do. There'll be things you went, what?
Exactly.
Where did that come from?
Yes, yes. And then you've got to reinvest in the business and the marketing, no matter what businesses you're in, you're marketing to get new clients.
I thought I could market my own business. I can't market my way out of a paper bag. I have a marketing staff now, and we're doing so much better with them than it was when old Charles was trying to handle the marketing. So backstop yourself where you're not good. Hire people that are. Hire experts. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. Just know how to hire the smartest person in the room. Okay.
Yes, I can remember. My gosh, 23 years old, opening this store. The managers I hired, these wonderful people I got from big stores that just wanted the flex time. So they came from Nordstrom's, Broadway, all these great places. Remember the Broadway, and Macy's, whatever. And they were like, "Oh, but honey, I can't believe you're my boss. You're 23." And they were like 50 already. But they knew more than I did. And they knew how to sell, and they knew business. And everybody got to give advice, because I was really like an apprentice in my own business, learning as I went. And it made all the difference to hire the smartest people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, I'd love to hear what some of the other chapters are in your book.
Well, let's see. I've got a copy here. Obviously, chapter 1 is entity selection. Next is employees, whether these people that are working for you are employees or really not employees. And that has to do with family and interns and contractors and so on. What are earnings? What really they are? What's hourly? What's salary? When do you have to pay overtime? When do you not have to pay overtime? And it varies, and it can be quite consuming. Deductions, voluntary, involuntary, pre-tax deductions, post-tax deductions, taxes, and all the numbers that go with it. Tax penalties, which can be devastating. 40% of all small businesses get penalized every year.
Wow.
It's just ridiculous. What's a work week? What's a pay period? What's a payday? The law, all the laws that are involved, federal, state, local, that are involved in those. How to actually run and calculate a payroll. How to pay your employees. You can still pay them in cash if you want. I don't recommend it. How do you deposit your taxes? How you file your taxes? All the forms that you need to do. Record keeping. All the agencies that require you keep records, and how long and what you have to keep. Workers' compensation is a whole chapter on that, because it is required in every state but Texas. Payroll security, internal controls, making sure it's secure, your information's secure, you don't get defrauded, you don't have fraudulent checks, on and on and on with that. How to deal with U.S. citizens abroad, resident and non-resident aliens, and then associated other issues, including PEO, HR, cheat, technology, and employee handbooks, which is a critical thing and something. It's the last chapter, but it's as important. It really is the first chapter, which is entity selection. So that's a rundown of the book. It's 30 years of experience distilled down to 95,000 words.
Wow. I remember I wrote this employee handbook, and nobody ever read it, but I had to have it. I don't remember why I had to have it, but it was something.
You have to have it, because if you get sued for any number of reasons, you fire somebody and they claim wrongful termination. If it's in the handbook that they signed the acknowledgement that they got, and it says, if you do this, we're going to terminate you, and they did it and you terminated them, they've got no grounds to sue you. all these things. It's basically self-protection. It's your contract with your employees and how you're going to interact with them. And it's they sign off on it, that they've received it and understood it. And so that protects you from all the lawyers out there that think your money should go into their pocket.
Oh yes, that no wonder. See, now this was back in the day when they had the camcorders and they were like 20-pound video recorders. We didn't have the phone, the cell phones like we do now. And
I remember well.
I took the handbook, and then what I did was, to train everybody, I actually did videos, because with all these employees, and I was helping my children, raising children and helping elders. I actually cared for all my elders until they passed away, every single one, and grandparents on both sides, the whole thing. And so with that, I had no other choice. And this was before they made these videos and YouTube and all that.
Oh, yeah.
But it worked so well. And so they didn't read the handbook. They did get one and they signed, but they did actually also have to watch the videos in order to even start working. So they would come in and watch, and they would have, I'd have like a little lunch or snacks or treats for them, and they could sit and watch, and I'd pay them for their time.
Absolutely.
And then they would start, but that saved me weeks of training.
Oh, it does. And it sets down the rules. Guys, these are the rules. Mm-hmm. These are what you need to do. If you don't like it, don't show up. Don't come back. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. If you don't want to obey the rules, I don't want to hire you. Okay.
Right.
And so it gets rid of misunderstandings. It also lays out working hours, company policy, the purpose for the company, how you interact with other people, how you're going to get paid, when you're going to get paid, what you're going to get paid, what we're going to deduct, what we're not going to deduct, parking, you name it. All those things can be involved, so there's no misunderstanding. You come in and why you parked in the employee of the month spot? You know you're not supposed to be there. Okay, it can be little things, it can be big things. Retirement, 401ks, all that's explained. Benefits, so there's no misunderstanding. There'll be some, obviously, but by laying it out and having done that and thought about it and put it on writing, you know what you want, and it's there, so you're not going back and forth. And that's another thing, because if you treat one person one way and another the other way, you're going to get sued again.
Right. So that's really important. And I know I always had attorneys that I worked with. I managed properties as well. So I always had a few for different things that needed aspects of the business to check contracts, anything that showed up. I always had some advisors that I think one I paid a retainer, the other I would just pay as I went. And I was so young. One of them was like, I'm going to teach you what to do. And he'd make me write it out. And I was like, why? But then it was awesome because he charged me way less. And he was a neighbor's friend. And he wanted to help me learn about all these things. So there's so much to running a business besides being the talent or just helping the client before you get to that point where if you have a good structure and foundation, you're going to have more success. It's going to be easier.
Absolutely. I have a young lady the other day who flips houses, and as she'd hire contractors, she'd make a deal. She'd pay them a little more than they were asking if they would teach her what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after a couple of years, if a contractor doesn't show up to lay tile, she knows how to lay it. She knows how to hang sheetrock. She knows how to texture paint. She can do minor electrical, minor plumbing. She's learned all these things, so nobody can take advantage of her now in her business.
Yes.
And that was smart.
Yes. I remember with my properties, as I bought them, and I bought the stores, and a lot of them had other rental units. So it was like more than one storefront. And with that, I had to, manage the tenants. And also I would always end up redesigning to get more. So I always got 30-40% more income just because I could see the design outlay. And I literally made a deal with the contractors, and I would go buy everything. They give me a list and I go buy everything with that van I got with the zero interest business credit. And this was when Home Depot and Lowe's in California, was open 24 hours a day. So I would go in the middle of the night and I would go there, and nobody wanted to be sent home in all the departments. So I would read them the list, and they would fill the carts, and they would load my van. And then I would have it at 6 a.m. I'd have somebody else bring it because I would have to sleep, and I would have somebody else bring the van to work and make sure that the guys had everything, and I'd make sure there was coffee and donuts, nice things to thank them. So they showed up and they could go to work, because I saved probably 20-30% in my fees, because when you send guys out to go buy stuff, they're going to go have lunch. They're going to go do other things. It takes a long time to, even with the list and all those people helping me, it would be a couple-hour run to get everything. And that's, my time or the guy's time at $60 an hour now or more, I think.
Exactly.
But yeah, and so made a big difference.
Absolutely. That's very smart.
So now I'd love to hear, if you could go back in time, Charles. This is something I ask all my guests. If you could go back in time, what would you advise your younger self, let's say before you were a teenager, getting ready for young adulthood and adulthood, what advice would you give yourself?
Start saving and investing much earlier. Because if I'd done that, I'd be rich and retired. I'd have an island in the Caribbean by now.
Right.
So don't spend the money. Save it and invest it. Literally. I started doing security analysis when I was 14, and I made some great trades. I had MCI at 2 and sold it at 8. If I kept it today, it would be worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars a share. But I sold it at 8 and spent the money. Save. When I taught high school for 5 years. I taught first period every day, only first period, taught intro to business. And one of the things I would teach my students is compound interest. And I'd say, okay, you're working at McDonald's. If you got paid $10 a week less, would it matter? Well, no, not really. Okay, take that $10 a week, put it into an investment account, save up, get $1,000 or so, and then start investing in common stocks and mutual funds and so on. And this is what you'll be if you save $10 a week when you turn 65 and feel like retiring. You'll have, and it was millions of dollars. And they were just astounded at what compound interest could do. Of course, they wouldn't save the $10, but at least they knew what they were missing.
Yes. And that's so important. And it's funny, time goes by and you get older, but the reality is nowadays, 65 isn't so old anymore.
I'm 72. My staff has asked me when I'm going to retire. Now, my wife's passed, so I what am I going to do? Sit at home by myself? So I tell them, one of these days you'll come in and find me dead at my desk. I've retired.
There you go. That's it. And I think it does keep you healthier to be involved and active, whether you're working or volunteering or doing something rather than just staying home. I mean, we all kind of suffered the COVID effects of the pandemic when people were locked down and staying at home. People gained weight. We all gained a little weight. And we weren't as healthy or as happy, not hugging people or interacting with people. So that was kind of like the world global experience of what happens when you just slow down. And retirement, when you're traveling and having fun, as long as you're out there contributing, is great.
I will say something else for your listeners that are getting up in age. I exercise with a trainer 3 times a week. And I truly believe that exercise is the fountain of youth.
Yes.
I don't look my age. I don't feel my age. My girlfriends, that's plural, tell me I don't look my age or act my age. So exercise is the fountain of youth. I recommend it highly.
Yes, I remember I had one friend. Now, I'm this person that has friends of all ages. So I'm this young kid, and one of my friends, I thought he was in his 60s or 70s because he looked super young. And he had a birthday, and every day he would wake up in the morning and play golf. So he's very active. And he says, well, I'm going to be 93. And I said, I don't believe you. We were at like a Starbucks or something. I said, I'm going to card you. His name was Jack. And He showed me his ID, 93 years old.
Yep.
And he would run rings around everybody. And he
Yep.
was active in the community. He was involved in political things. He was involved in the schools still. He was involved with so much life.
Mhm.
And yeah, he did really well. And nobody ever knew. It was his little secret. I was one of the few, and I'm sure his friends. So that made the difference. And then those that sat at home and watch TV and don't do anything, then they get sick.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Makes a big difference. Well, Charles, we are coming to the end of our talking time. So I'd love for you to share where people can get your book or your payroll services and how to get started.
Well, Sheila, for your listeners, if they will go to the payrollbook.com, that's the website, and enter the discount code podcast, we'll send them a free book. No shipping, no handling, just a free book for your listeners, okay? So they can find it there. If they want to buy it, it's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble, other fine stores where fine books are sold. I'm available at CJR at GetPayroll. GetPayroll is my company. My email is CJR at GetPayroll. And, I love to talk to people. So if they've got a situation or a question about payroll, taxes, accounting, email me. I'll be glad to respond. No charge. I do it for fun.
Outstanding. All right. Well, thank you again, Charles, for being a guest on the show. And for those tuning in, stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages. Overview of the Boots formula. In December of 2017, I lost my house, my car, and my cat due to a fire. It sounds like a country music song, but that was my reality. And yet another rock bottom situation. After a long period of doing really well, when we're able to retrain our minds to focus on the positives, we're able to enjoy more of life, even while we're rebuilding and rebooting. We're going to starve those negative thoughts, not feeding them with our attention, time, or energy. When you focus on the good parts of your life, those things that you can be grateful for in this moment, that energy will bring even more good things your way. Contribute and utilize your unique talent. You're not thinking about the problem at hand. You're not showing up for approval. You're just being your best self. You use your rock bottom to set the direction for your life beyond this rock bottom situation. It's important that you are really honest about where you are in this situation. You can't lie because you don't want to give up your personal responsibility. You have to own every part of this and realize it could be worse. It could be better, but this is it. If you aren't able to be honest about where you're starting from, you won't be able to clearly see where you want to go or how to get there. The next letter of Boots will help you answer that. The second O is for order of operations. The third step of the Boots formula is finding the order of operations. When you're in a rock bottom moment, there are certain steps you know you need to take to get out of it, and you need to complete those steps in a certain order. T is for thinking. The fourth step of the Boots formula is thinking. If you recall your thinking at the most successful points in your life, it's probably vastly different from your thinking when a crisis brings you to a rock bottom situation. Often, at the toughest times, our thinking goes to survival. We lose sight of the possibilities and opportunities that are before us. This is where thinking comes into play. It's vital to have a strong mindset in order to keep our boots on and walk out of a rough spot in life. Thinking leads you to a clear vision of where you want to go on that map of your desired outcome. You've made the decision that you're going to New York. Your bags are packed. You have an idea of how you're going to get there. You know the steps you need to take, though you may not know how the hell you're going to take them all, but you've made up your mind. That's where you're going. Tony Robbins often says, it's in the moment of decision that one's destiny is shaped. That decision is the thought that comes before the action steps required to reach your new goal. Everything happens in this step, in that decision. You can see it, feel it, embody it. Things start to show up because you're looking for them and you're open to them. You'll start getting the results you want just because that decision is in your mind. It becomes that real to you. Once you have that clear vision in your mind, you have to see yourself as if you already are living in your desired reality. You're just doing the steps to get there. S is for stepping up. The fifth and final step of the Boots formula is a literal step, stepping up. You've gone through the first 4 steps. You've decided how you're going to show up. You have a picture of where you're going. You know the steps you need to take, and you've made the decision to actually do something. It would be nice if you could just sit, think, and meditate your desired outcome into being. But that's not the way it works. There is some validity to the idea of manifesting what you want, but at the same time, you have to believe enough to actually go out there and take the risk. You have to overcome your fear of giving your first presentation, making your first speech, or writing your first book. You have to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to take those steps. S is for stepping up by taking the personal responsibility required for a real reboot. While the B in Boots is about being in the present with who you are in the situation, S is for taking those steps toward the future you want. Although there will be many times in life where we have little or no true personal responsibility for an event that alters our lives, it is always a gift to own your own response and reactions to situations. What can you do to shift the energy and step up to your part in the situation? In order to reboot, one must be willing to step into action. This last step ties back to the first one. It all comes back to being. How are you going to be when you're going through this? Sometimes it's ugly, dirty, not pretty, and certainly not fun. Nobody's going to help you move, so you have to pack all the boxes yourself. Procrastinating isn't going to help. You just have to take those action steps you defined in the order of operations. When you first start, it's overwhelming because you feel like you're still buried in the situation. Chaos is all around. But because you've done the first 4 steps of Boots, you have an action plan. You're not doing 1,000 steps today. You just have to take 1. You do the things that you mapped out one by one, and that helps you see, okay, I can do that. You have clarity on the action steps, so now it's time to actually get moving. Are you ready to strap on your boots and start walking? From rock bottom to moment of empowerment. You may be thinking, okay, now I know the formula, but what does it look like in action? Great question. Let's look at the rock bottom moment I told you about at the beginning of the chapter to see how I applied the Boots formula to get back into right action. After the fire, after my cat ran away, and after my car was totaled, I was in a funk for a week and a half or 2 weeks before I even noticed. I don't know if it was shock or depression or overwhelm, probably all of that. It was a lot of loss in a short period of time. But then I had to go back to work and I needed a way to get there. Being. For that first week or 2, I was being a victim. I grieved the cat, the car I had recently bought in cash and was very proud of, my house, and the whole lifestyle I had just rebuilt after the divorce, another loss that I had recently overcome. All my beautiful, most favorite things were in that house, and I lost them all. I was also grieving over the plan to have one of my children move back in with me while she went to college. She'd already been having second thoughts, but she didn't want to tell me and risk hurting my feelings. When I ended up in the tiny house in the hills, we both realized it wasn't going to happen.
It felt like a really shitty place to end up. I wondered, how the hell did I get here in just a 5-day period? As I was going through my own rock bottom situations, I had to ask, who do I need to be? I had to own my little strength as well as my many weaknesses. I had to be vulnerable enough to admit those weaknesses in order to use my strengths to help me through. I had to own my truth, own myself, and trust that I was going to do the steps to get out of this rock bottom. I also had to take care of myself. I had a good reason to have a pity party, but I had even better reasons to get out of that funk and start asking, what can I do? This is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. And I have a free gift for you. I am actually giving you the gift of a free limited program. This is a lifetime account free, and it is from the new program, Groove Pages. And this program replaces so many other programs that I personally have purchased for my business. It replaces your ClickFunnels, Samcart, Tap Affiliate, ActiveCampaign, Kajabi, Vimeo, Shopify, Properly, WordPress, Zendesk, Calendly, and many more subscription pay per year or month apps. This will save you a fortune. When you sign up using my special link, you will also be invited to be a free mastermind business group member where you will be on a call with me to answer your business questions and help you get started. Connect with me at www.sheilamack.com or go directly to this link in order to also be part of my mastermind free group. Go to https://groovepagess.groovesell.com/a/8 capital B like boy, lowercase l, lowercase v, capital Z, capital J, the number 6, capital S, capital O, lowercase n, and lowercase q to get started. And if you're viewing this on the on-demand TV, you will see the information on how to get started. Check this out. This is a group of free programs that will save your business so much money each year, and it is my gift to you. Enjoy. And now back to more messages. Is not one size fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation. To grab a copy of my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now available on Audible as well as on Amazon and Kindle and at www.sheilamack.com.